The village of Maybe in Michigan is home to less than 600 people and only about 2 square miles in size. It's a rural, quiet place which, aside from a few small businesses and local restaurants, is mainly an agricultural area, packed with small-town charm. And in 2014, Chelsea Ellen Bruck was living there with her family, running their 160-acre farm. Friends said the 22-year-old Chelsea had a big smile and an even bigger heart. Although she could be quiet when you first met her, the more she opened up, the more people saw how fun and sociable she was. She was a jokester and a glass-half-full kind of person. Chelsea's bond with her family was tight. She was the youngest of 5, and her sisters called themselves the Bruck girls. Chelsea had been working as a hostess in a restaurant, Olga's Kitchen, for 4 years, and when she wasn't working, you could find her with her friends, listening to musical soundtracks, playing video games, reading and baking. And food was really her big passion. She was looking forward to going to college to get a culinary degree and kickstart her career. October 26th, 2014. About a 15-minute drive outside of Maybe sits Frenchtown Township. And it was here that many were getting ready for a big Halloween party. Well, big was an understatement. Mike Williams, the lead singer of the rock band Pickaxe Preacher, was hosting his annual Halloween bash, and it was almost like a mini festival. There were different bands playing, fire breathers, food, a huge bonfire, and lots of alcohol and drugs. Mike had hired security guards and parking attendants to help control things on the sprawling property, but even he had no idea how massive this year's party would become. Throughout the day and into the evening, over 600 people would come and go, more than the entire population of Maybe where Chelsea lived. Chelsea and her friends were pumped to be going. There were awards up for best dressed, and Chelsea had spent ages making a poison ivy costume. The 22-year-old arrived at the party with her best friend Rebecca, and at about 1:30 a.m, Chelsea had a picture taken. Even though the picture is only a snapshot, she was beaming and seemed to be having fun. She had a bottle with her labelled poison, which was allegedly filled with cheap wine. Some say she was drinking quite a lot, matching the energy of most guests there. Others said she was pacing herself and didn't seem to be drinking that much. But memories of that night are hazy and differ depending on who you ask. A couple of witnesses said at one point Chelsea accidentally walked into a wooden post and cut her forehead, and it was after this that she asked a few people for a lift home. Chelsea had left her phone in her friend's car as she couldn't put it anywhere in her costume, so Rebecca went to grab it for her. She told Chelsea to hang out where she was, she would be right back, phone in hand. Rebecca returned to the same spot, but Chelsea was no longer there, and Rebecca didn't see her again. Another friend that had agreed to give her a ride home also failed to find her. But with everyone so crammed in and people coming and going, maybe it was overly optimistic to assume that they would stay together all night. Chelsea could have just met with some more friends and gone home with one of them. By all accounts, Mike's party was a huge success. Everyone had an amazing, albeit very blurry time. And as the sun rose and the last few guests headed home, ready to deal with the inevitable hangover, Chelsea's family was wondering where she was. Her phone was obviously not with her, her bedroom was untouched, and it didn't take long for the police to be called. She was soon officially a missing person, and detectives started at Mike's house. Driving there, they realised it was a location you couldn't just walk back from unless you lived really nearby. It was far out, rural, the roads very long and winding, so it seemed likely she would have had to have left in someone's car. Chelsea's house was about 8 miles away. The house was, as expected, pretty trashed. The remnants of a bonfire were still smouldering outside, and piles of bottles and cans lay around. Mike admitted that he didn't even know Chelsea, let alone the fact she was at his party. That's how big the event had been. People could have spent all day there and not seen her once. He was devastated at what had happened though, and really tried to help as best he could, despite the negative publicity that came his way after the party.
Monica, these search parties are actually very large, but you wouldn't know it. I've seen about half a dozen people go here into the cornfields behind me, but they disappear because they are so tall. There are also several volunteers here across the street. This is the site of that epic house party, the last place Chelsea was seen.
Yeah, there's some guilt. That's why, I've been doing everything I can to cooperate with everybody. I'm extremely sorry. I've been posting about it on Facebook. I've been trying to make an awareness about it. Hope to God that they find her.
The guilt is eating away at Michael Williams. He says he had nothing to do with the disappearance of 22-year-old Chelsea Bruck.
Knew I was going to have a lot of people here, but I didn't anticipate the amount of people that showed up. I ended up shutting the party down, turning people away. Police
believe Chelsea and her friends were among 600 people at Michael's Halloween bash Saturday night. She wore a poison ivy costume with black fitted pants, a leaf-covered top, and a long purple wig.
Canine units, drones, helicopters, and hundreds of people were combing over every inch of his house and the surrounding area. It was clear that this was going to be a tough investigation. Most people there had been dressed up, many wearing masks, and on top of it, there was a lot of drugs and alcohol flying around. It was going to be absolutely impossible to get a clear picture of who was there and what had been happening. Monroe County Sheriff Dale Malone said most people they spoke to about it had been totally inebriated and, put simply, weren't any help. It was a combination of people not knowing anything and people thought they were being helpful but were completely misremembering or confusing things. Some people said they saw Chelsea outside crying because she was worrying about how she was going to get home. And other witnesses said they saw Chelsea leaving the party at around 3 a.m. with a man wearing a dark hoodie and thick dark-rimmed glasses and a side fringe.
I know, that's like the kind of look now, with the glasses and the hair. So it's really hard. I even told, like I said, I told the authorities that I had no idea who it could be.
But who this man was and if it actually was her leaving, well, that was anyone's guess. They released a sketch of the person who supposedly left with Chelsea. One partygoer, Harlan Bird, told an elaborate story about him helping Chelsea at the party, who was being harassed by two men and going off in their car. A story, for whatever crazy reason, he had completely made up. He would ultimately be arrested for this. Someone else, a woman called Kerry, told police that her violent boyfriend had admitted to killing Chelsea that night. But this was another made-up story and she too was arrested and charged with lying to the police. Detectives think she fabricated everything to get her ex into trouble. Over the next few months, the Help Find Chelsea Bruck Facebook page gained more than 12,000 members, and the reward for information was creeping up. More than 1 million leaflets with Chelsea's face on them were distributed. The search for her was so vast, and it even moved into different countries. Chelsea's 23rd birthday came and went, and so sadly did her sister's wedding, with an empty space in the church where she should have been. And then, the first real clue would be found. A couple of miles from the scene of the party, a red shoe was found in a field. It was Chelsea's. And then, about 6 months after she went missing, part of her poison ivy costume was found at an industrial site.
Tonight, the office of the Monroe County Sheriff releasing an update involving the disappearance of Chelsea Bruck. Perhaps the lead that could mean a huge break in their investigation, acting on a tip during a 2-day search here at Vreeland and Peters and Flat Rock. State police and deputies able to collect clothing and other evidence.
There was blood on it and it was torn, as if it had been ripped off of her body. The clothing had definitely been subjected to the elements and the passage of time. However, an unknown male DNA profile was found on the costume, along with Chelsea's blood. Police learned that the clothing was very close to where Harlan Bird's grandma lived, the same man that had told the lie about Chelsea being harassed by two men at the party. He was interviewed again, took a polygraph test which he passed, and gave a DNA sample. Although a very strange coincidence, it was a coincidence nonetheless. His DNA was not a match. A few weeks after the costume was discovered, another finding was made.
Right now, most of the action is taking place behind me, about a quarter mile into these woods, deep behind me. Still a very active scene right now. State police are out here, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. I'm going to step out of the way. All we're being told right now is that the body of a woman has been found deep in these woods. I know that there is a crime lab truck out here on scene. The sheriff of Monroe County Sheriff is out here. He's also on scene.
Construction workers were digging up an abandoned property near some old railroad tracks, where they found human remains in a shallow grave. The worker had spotted the blonde hair and instantly knew it had to be Chelsea. And it was.
The purple ribbons on lampposts were signs of lingering hope Chelsea was somewhere alive. And now the news that body was hers is hitting hard.
There was always hope that she was still alive, but now the hope is gone. So there's closure to it now, but still, it's really rough.
At Olga's at the Mall of Monroe, where Chelsea worked as a hostess, purple ribbons and ornaments encouraged diners to keep Chelsea in their thoughts. And on the Facebook page that kept thousands updated during the search, her brother Nathan posted a brief comment yesterday, thanking everyone for their efforts. He called this the end of the search for Chelsea, but just the beginning of the search for justice.
Things like that happen everywhere, but in a small town, everybody knows everybody, and everybody goes to church together. And everybody just knows, so it's tough. It's like one of your own.
Chelsea had been dumped there naked and then covered over with branches. This was about 10 miles from the party. The examiner said she had died from blunt force trauma to the head. What's more, she said the blunt object must have been used because her injuries were too severe to be inflicted by a fist. Her nose, jaw, and eye sockets were broken, and 2 of her teeth were chipped. It had now been over a year since she went missing, and of course this was now a different kind of investigation. 1,000 tips, 800 interviews, 34 search warrants, 14 subpoenas, and 50 law enforcement agencies. The appeals kept coming, and police identified a new witness or potential person of interest.
A little grainy, but take a close look at this picture. Police want to talk to this man in connection with the disappearance of Chelsea Bruck. Chelsea disappeared back in October of 2014. You may recall last seen.
But the man whose DNA was on the costume was about to fall right into the detective's laps. 27-year-old Daniel Clay had a long criminal past. Convictions for possessing controlled substances, theft, breaking and entering, assault, and assaulting resisting a police officer. Daniel had just been arrested for stealing someone's backpack, and thanks to a new law, he had to provide a DNA sample, and it was a match to Chelsea's costume. A woman had also reported that she was attacked and raped by him in an apartment just 1 month before his DNA was matched. He was brought into the station and interrogated about his whereabouts on the night Chelsea went missing. He said he did know her face from the news, but denied ever meeting her. When detectives told him his DNA had been found on her clothing, he said it was impossible. He said he was at the same party she was and admitted that he took drugs and drank a lot that night. He remembered having sex with a woman in his car, but he was positive it wouldn't have been Chelsea. It couldn't have been her. There was no way his DNA would be on her clothes.
You told me you never had sex.
You never had sex, never nothing.
Would there be any reason that your DNA would be with Chelsea Bruck?
No.
Or on her clothes? Or in her hair?
Not to my knowledge.
But the DNA did not lie, and the detectives were losing patience with him.
I think the thing is, Daniel, all right, is you had sex with a female that had dark hair in the back of your car.
Yeah.
All right? You're telling me you left alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility, all right, a likelihood, and I say likelihood, which I'm 99.9% sure that it was Chelsea that you had sex with.
I don't remember who I had sex with that night. I know I was up and had sex with someone.
They told him there was no point in pretending anymore. They were past the lies.
It was skin, all right, from force, from tear. Your DNA cells were on where her crotch was torn and where her top was torn.
From grabbing her or something.
Okay, so that's where your DNA was. I'm past that. Okay, right? I know that you tore that.
I didn't tear it.
We're past
I
that.
it off or whatever. We didn't
Okay, so, but it was torn. You had to tear it.
I didn't tear it.
But I'm not getting
I would have
that.
done somebody after me or something.
Okay, so there was, and this is the thing.
All right? There had to be somebody that could make stuff happen.
Listen to me, Daniel. We're past all that.
Okay.
All right? I have your DNA where her stuff was torn.
Detectives then took a gamble and told him a lie about Chelsea. They said she had brittle bone disease and even the smallest thing could injure her. She had no such thing. But Daniel instantly replied, "Oh, like my bones. I break my fingers a lot because of it." The detectives replied, "So that's what happened. It was an accident. Something happened where it was an accident. The problem is we need to know from you, because I'm telling you right now, we know you're not that murderer. People don't know that. Just us." Daniel took a pause and said, "Okay, we fucked around," before asking for a cigarette. He went on to say that she was the woman he had hooked up with in his car, but he left her alive and well and didn't harm her.
Either something happened where it was intentional, unintentional, accidental.
A few more minutes of prying, Daniel said that high and drunk that night, he set off in his car and drove past her at the side of the road. He offered her a ride home, and this, he claimed, turned into a consensual sexual encounter. He said Chelsea was, in his words, freaky and wanted him to choke her. He choked her for about 30 seconds and she stopped breathing. Panicking, he tried CPR, but he couldn't revive her.
It wasn't.
You intentionally?
No, I did not intentionally hurt her.
Okay, then we need to know what happened. Okay, there's a
We
big
had
difference.
sex, and she did get freaky. Okay, and that sex, it got rough. Like, nice and right.
I know.
Choked her. She told me to choke her. I choked her, and then she kind of stopped, and she went limp, so I stopped, and I'm like, and I started tapping her face, and she just stopped breathing, and I stopped. It's like, I'm not trying to have sex with somebody that just passed out on me. I started tapping her, and I started tapping her. I'm like, I start shaking her. I was going like this and stuff. I was just trying to wake her up.
Displaced.
I don't know.
Displaced.
I don't know.
Significant injury.
I don't know.
Doctor said car wreck could cause that.
I'm telling you, I don't remember.
Without an explanation, you realize you're going to look like an animal.
I know.
You know that.
I was blacked out.
Okay,
What am I supposed to say? Like,
you remember details.
I remember details.
You remember details.
I remember
You
parts.
still want to say.
I remember parts,
So
sir.
that part we need you to remember.
I don't know. Like, I remember going like this and hitting on it and trying to wake her up after I couldn't give her a CPR. I could get the ones here. The jaw thing, I literally have no idea how I did that unless, like, while I was getting out of the car, I hit her head in the door or something, maybe.
And it would have had to have been a smash.
I mean, not on purpose.
I could see that.
That I could understand if I did it not on purpose.
He said he was in a complete state of shock and fear and drove around for 30 to 45 minutes.
You said you took her out of the car, back in Briar Hill Road. Okay, you took her out of the car. Did you carry her or drag her?
I just kind of picked her up and carried her.
Daniel said he drove to some train tracks about 10 miles from the party, then carried her body into a wooded area.
Well, here at 6:43, we are following some big developments from overnight. New developments in the death and disappearance of 22-year-old Chelsea Bruck.
Now, this is the news here that was brought to us at 11 o'clock last night. A 27-year-old man from Newport. He is behind bars this morning. Nick Monticelli following.
He was charged with second-degree murder. He was also charged with the sexual assault that had occurred just a month prior.
I'm sorry.
Daniel Clay apologizing for what he's accused of exclusively to Action News cameras after his arraignment on second-degree murder charges. In court today, he told the judge he didn't want bond, apparently preferring a jail cell. The judge agreed. Clay, who has 10 previous arrests on his record, reportedly told his current girlfriend in a confession from jail he picked up the 22-year-old Bruck after a Halloween party, and rough sex turned deadly. Action News also learning today from sources the suspect had some of Bruck's items in his home. In court, Bruck's immediate family sat in the front row just feet from Clay. Others in the back could be heard seething with frustration and anger, once face-to-face with the suspect. They later left without comment.
Daniel's girlfriend Kelly said he had called her from jail and confessed again, but still claimed it was an accident.
And he told me he did it, and I told him not to lie to me, and I wanted the truth. You know what I mean? If you love me, then tell me the truth, like what's going on. And he told me he did it, and it was an accident.
Daniel's ex and the mother of his child, Jessica, had actually worked with Chelsea, and in the months after she went missing, she didn't recall Daniel saying anything about Chelsea. But the day he was arrested, she got 2 voicemails from him, saying he was extremely sorry, that he fucked up big time, and he was going to be gone for a really long time. He pleaded not guilty. Daniel was then charged with 1 count of concealment of a body, and his second-degree murder charge was upped to open murder. Open murder is a legal term primarily used in Michigan, and this allows a prosecutor to charge a defendant with homicide without specifying the degree. It means the jury or judge can decide what they think is the most appropriate charge, either first or second degree murder. And in May 2017, the trial of Daniel Clay would begin.
Nearly 2.5 years after Chelsea Bruck disappeared from a Halloween party, forensic experts take center stage talking about what was found when her remains were discovered.
The outfit that was still very much intact when it was found, except for 2 glaring spots. The crotch of the costume and one of the straps. Experts testified the rips in the fabric were not consistent with someone who took it off, rather with someone tearing at it with keys to get it off. Daniel Clay's DNA was found on the costume and the wig Bruck was wearing. She was found when John Marcon was hauling dirt on the property he owns in Ash Township. He's the one who found her skeletal remains.
I was looking at the dirt pile, then I was actually looking to see if I could get the dozer back in there because it was kind of a tight area. And then I looked off to my left, and that's when I noticed a body.
The defense argues Bruck was fatally injured during consensual sex with Clay. During cross-examination, Bruck's friend was pressed about the victim's sexual preferences.
Did she like rough sex? Sort of violent or aggressive sex?
No. The mother of Clay's child was at the same party and is now a witness for the prosecution.
She actually made an awesome costume, homemade out of leaves. And then she had her purple wig and her jug.
She says Clay never mentioned Bruck until he was arrested.
That he's extremely sorry. Please tell please tell Bryson I love him. I'm really sorry. Yeah, he said he was going to be gone for a really long time.
Prosecutors believe that the evidence all pointed to him probably genuinely offering her a lift home, and as she was desperate with no phone, she accepted. But shortly after he started driving, he attacked, sexually assaulted, and killed her. The medical examiner, she couldn't say 100% because of the amount of time that had passed, but she was 99.9% sure she did not die from being choked, adding that intense pressure has to be applied for at least a few minutes in order to kill someone. The injuries to her head, nose, jaw, eye sockets and teeth spoke for themselves. The way her costume had been ripped at the straps and in the crotch area also painted a very different picture. Daniel testified himself.
Did you intend to cause her death?
No, I did not.
Did you murder Chelsea Bruck?
No.
Why do you say that? Why do you say no?
Because I didn't mean for her to die. Didn't mean for this to end like this.
Daniel Clay testifying in his own defense, telling the court and jury in his own words that the death of Chelsea Bruck was not what he wanted to happen. Under cross-examination, Clay was asked about the act that he insists was consensual.
You have time and time again said no more than 20 to 30 seconds, right?
Yes.
Could it be, sir, that you are tailoring your testimony to conform to the experts that have testified regarding the length of time to lose consciousness?
No.
There was no disputing or denying that Daniel had killed Chelsea. He had already admitted it, but the jury had to decide whether it was intentional or an accident.
And after just a few hours of deliberations,
they found him guilty
of felony murder in the death of Chelsea Bruck.
This is exactly what the prosecution wanted today. Daniel Clay guilty. This is still first-degree murder. The jury basically decided it wasn't premeditated, but they thought it was still first-degree felony murder, meaning that Chelsea Bruck was killed while another felony was in progress, whether that be kidnapping or criminal sexual conduct. It also means the jury completely rejected Daniel Clay's notion that this was somehow consensual sex. And the jury had a lot of options here. One of those two murder choices and also concealing a dead body. But they could have gone, if they did believe Daniel Clay, with manslaughter. They did not do that. And obviously, though, when that first not guilty verdict was read, there was an audible gasp in the courtroom, not knowing what was coming next. Listen.
We, the jury, find as follows. Count 1, first-degree murder, not guilty. Felony murder, guilty.
We're pleased with the jury's verdict. We think it was well-founded and certainly supported by the evidence.
At his sentencing, Leandra Bruck, Chelsea's mom, told Daniel that she forgave him. Wearing purple, her daughter's favourite colour, and a Crime Stoppers pin with Chelsea's face on it, she passed him a Bible. She said this didn't mean she would ever forget, but for her own peace, she had to forgive. He sat there with a blank look. Leandra said a very important lesson from the loss of Chelsea: don't leave your friends alone. If you go somewhere, anywhere as a group, please leave as that same group. Don't assume they're going to be okay. We still expect her to walk in the back door. The judge had a few choice words for him too.
It's very clear to me, Mr. Clay, you're a liar, a rapist, and a killer.
Daniel Clay sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of Chelsea Bruck.
Daniel was sentenced to mandatory life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was also later sentenced to serve 40 to 75 years in prison for sexually assaulting the woman in the apartment. The judge said this was a brutal rape, it was degrading, it was dehumanising. Mr. Clay, you're just an opportunist and a predator. You're a liar, and now you're a serial rapist. Daniel did appeal his conviction, but his sentence was upheld. A scholarship in Chelsea's name was set up in the Culinary Arts programme at Macomb Community College, the place she should have attended. Another Halloween party had come to a close. An evening with friends, lots of laughter and fun, and celebration and chaos in equal measure was over. Everyone parted ways, already looking forward to reliving the madness the next day. Chelsea Bruck was simply trying to find a way home, planning to join in the laughter the next morning along with everyone else. Her nights had been surrounded by make-believe and pretend, but this case is a chilling reminder that monsters walk among us. No mask or costume required. And the nightmare Chelsea ended up faced with was all too real. If you would like to support our channel and help us to continue to make our content, we have a Patreon with many perks including exclusive episodes, behind the scenes, and ad-free early access.